from Matthew, and we're back in a vineyard, and I tell you, well, I will tell you this. My friend Caleb would say that what we are having right now is a visit from Sassy Jesus today. Sassy Jesus is demonstrating what it means to be, as he said a little earlier in Matthew's gospel, about being serpent wise and dove harmless. These leaders are trying to trick Jesus into saying something a little too early. They're trying to get him to tip his hand, to say something that Jesus isn't really ready to live into, at least not yet. Jesus does not want to announce where his authority is coming from. So instead he turns it and he asks the leaders a question that they're not willing to answer either. He's being wily, he's being sassy. We kind of like this Jesus. He's not being forthcoming. He is, like I said, being serpent wise. He doesn't want to give up too much. And he does it in such a mild way that the crowd doesn't react, but the leaders know. They're being invited to, as we say right now, speak the quiet part out loud. The quiet part for these leaders is that, truthfully, they didn't care about John's baptism. They didn't care where it came from. They didn't probably even consider it very much. They were doing the politically expedient thing, which I know we love, right? But these leaders were doing the politically expedient thing. They wanted to keep their power. They wanted John dead, gone and out of the way. And what they really wanted was Jesus to say something about authority that would give the Roman authorities or give the crowd enough will, enough power, enough resolve to kill Jesus. And Jesus said no. But he didn't say no in such an overt manner to tip his hand. So Jesus says, nope, not answering that question. You didn't answer mine. But let me tell you a story about a vineyard. The story is about two sons who, one is doing the will of the Father, one is perhaps not doing the will of the Father. And it's complicated because we always hear this story through our own family lines, especially those of us who have siblings, right? We see ourselves doing the will of our parents or not doing the will of our parents, or seeing one of our siblings not do the will of our parents. And we can tell you exactly what day it was, what we were wearing, and where we were in the house. That's how we get locked into this story and get lost to the point. We immediately identify with one of these brothers or the other, but no matter what way we identify, we always come out as the better children, right? That's how we do it. It's our human nature. But let's just try and skip all the family dynamics right now. Let's look at this as a story not about what we will do and what we won't do, what actually happened and what didn't happen. Let's think of this as purely a lesson about deeds and authority. We make all sorts of promises, big and little, during the day, during our work life, during our rest, over our entire lifetimes. Some of us make a vow to our vocations. Some of us take pledges to our work. You think of doctors and lawyers, they promise much. We make promises to our beloveds. We take vows with our beloveds. And we hopefully, on our best days, live into them. But this is a story about what is a commitment to God. What does it look like in this? Are we doing what God asks of us? Whether it's something we promise to God or we promise to ourselves, are we doing that? Eventually, if we are, we have to say the quiet part out loud. We have to say what we're doing that is God's will. Let me give you an example. I mean, even Jesus eventually talks about where his authority is from, and eventually it will get him killed, but not yet. Let me give you an example. For some of us for years have been saying that racism is bad, but it's not my problem. I'm not racist. I dismantle it by not doing it. I'm a nice person to people that are black or brown. I don't participate in racism. Others of us say it's a terrible thing and we should change, and I will definitely denounce it when I see it. Yet we are all part of a system in this country. And it is indeed systematic racism that is happening when Breonna Taylor was murdered asleep in her bed. She was in her home, and she was killed. And months passed, and there was little or no accountability for her death. Just this week, the grand jury filed one set of charges against one of the police officers, and the charge was wanton endangerment. And the wanton endangerment was to everybody else in the apartment complex. Wanton endangerment. I have friends of mine who had to get up on Wednesday morning or Thursday morning and function. Black friends who had to go through their day putting themselves out there, knowing that they have no legal protection, that they can be asleep in their homes and police in many states can come in with a no-knock warrant and kill them and not be held accountable. That the lives of other people in other apartments, the property in that apartment complex was worth more than Breonna Taylor's life. I can't even begin to tell you. I don't know how people get up in the morning after something like that, how they function in their day, how people of color aren't crazy for seeing what systematic racism does to them. We have to say the things out loud, and it's scary to us. We're afraid it's going to get us into trouble. And sometimes we have to say it out loud and make a stand, and it makes us stand out. And sometimes we say it in the middle of a movement. We have a movement at our very fingertips. Are we going to say, yes, what happened to Breonna Taylor was terrible, and then just walk away and do our business? Is that what we do? Is that living into the will of God? Are we going to say, yes, what happened to George Floyd was terrible, and walk away? Is that what we do? Is that doing the will of God? Ahmaud Arbery, Sandra Bland, Trayvon Martin, Tamir Rice, Eric Garner. I could go on, and so could you. Are these all terrible things? And then we walk away thinking, surely the system has changed. Surely we're okay. We're not racist. We say this is bad. Is that what we do? Will that help us live into the will of God? And Jesus is extraordinarily clear in this gospel. For John came to you in a way of righteousness, and you did not believe him, but the tax collectors and prostitutes believed him. And even after you saw that change, you did not change your minds and believe him. You did not change your minds and do something else. You did not change the system. It's really frustrating for me right now. A, because of my friends who are in pain. B, because women go missing on Indian reservations every single day, and nobody does anything about it, and they look like my sister. Breonna Taylor is our relative. The women missing in Winnipeg, Canada, are our relatives. We have to change the world. Jesus is very clear about it. Even after you saw it, you did nothing to change your mind and believe that we could change this world. And I'm frustrated because I'm taking this class at Episcopal Divinity School, and we're reading Black Theology and Black Power by Dr. Cone. Dr. James Cone is the father of Black liberation. He wrote this book in 1969, and what Dr. Cone was writing about then could be happening right now. You just remove the word Black Power and put Black Lives Matter. It is shocking how nothing has changed in 51 years. And I, more and more, am beginning to believe that this systematic racism, this time that we're putting our whiteness in the midst of everything, and how we are taking our white sensibilities and not seeing how broken the world is for our siblings of color, that we cannot move closer to Jesus. We are called to change. We are called to hear John, and we are called to embrace a transformative love of Christ, to see all of it and not walk away, to believe that we benefit from it and not walk away. We are called people to change it and not walk away. 50 years ago, Dr. Cohn was talking about this, years before Breonna Taylor's killers were allowed to walk away from this. Emmett Till's killers walked away from it too, to the same date. What has changed? One would hope we have. And if we see it, we have to change it. Jesus is very clear about it. The tax collectors and the prostitutes believed him, and even after you saw them change, you did not change your minds and believe. What and how do we change? How do we bring the love of God to everyone? How might we give up and convince ourselves that our comfort isn't the worth of the terror of our siblings? We need to say the quiet part out loud. Police kill black people and are not held accountable in this country. Police kill black people and are not held accountable in this country. And we need to work to change policing, to change and dismantle systematic racism in this country. And it's not us just being nice to people of color. It's not us saying that's bad and we don't agree with it. It's us calling for change. It is us moving towards the love of God for everyone that will change this world. And that is what we're called to today. Amen.